massive rains come, then comes all the runoff that creates a pool. And as you can tell, that's a whole lot more water than normal. And it's flowing. Crazy how all of this works. Because, you know, waters of destruction come that are meant for evil intentions. But you can also, in return, realize that these waters, I gotta cut all this back, will also come for God's glory. His word can come forth. You know, we're warned of the battles within and how many waters come. But the waters doesn't always have to be just the bad. It can also be the water of the word that's poured out. The ultimate truth that comes forth. I mean, you can't, it's got the water so turned up, and you know on previous videos how there's always been a lip. Well, there's no lip right now, and the waters rage and foam. We're warned that it's foam of shame. When there's massive amounts of water for days, this will actually fill up all of this, and it will become a huge waterfall. This is nothing compared to what has been seen in the past before. But something you have to realize, even though this water, you can see where the bottom is, you've got to think, and this is a warning because where I used to be a public safety diver years ago, there's also another one, and it's called Swiftwater Rescue. And let me tell you, ankle deep, fast enough, will sweep you off your feet. You can see the force that comes through. So passing in water that is unknown can be very dangerous because it can really sweep you off your feet, literally. And something else, because when you're doing rescues, they like to put you in dangerous situations, man-made, of course, under what we hope to be a controlled environment. You can see these little critters have said, we're coming over here in safety. But at the bottom of this waterfall, it creates almost a wash tub effect. So when the water falls, it will come off and it will sit there and go in a circle, you know, like the washing machine does. And it will not, if you fight against that, it will not spit you out where you see the water boiling out or bubbling out. It won't spit you out until you relax. Well, most people panic and don't realize all they have to do is don't fight it, just relax. And that tub, wash tub under that is at the base of the waterfall will spit you out. But usually it doesn't spit them out because they fight and fight and fight until there is no fight. And then it spits them out. So, word of advice, if you ever get in that situation. And this also does the ocean too, because let me tell you, I dove into I gotta wash my feet off. I've dove into a wave before, and I got caught in that current. And every time I try, mind you, to stand up, that's all I had to do, it would beat me back down. And it had that same wash tub effect in the ocean. So it scared me to death when it was happening. But then when I relaxed and quit fighting it because I just got tired, it spit me out. I just didn't realize it until I just didn't fight no more. In the ocean, if you're not careful and you go out too far, which is why they don't let you go out too far, especially during certain tide times, there's a barrier for a reason, because that will take you out to sea. I promise. I have even snorkeled down in the Keys, and before I realized it, because I was the first one off having experience, it was just snorkeling. So I was ready to go and got in the water, and all the beautiful fish that were around were so cute until everybody else got in and they swam off. But let me say, I was snorkeling, didn't pay attention, didn't really, pay attention to the current and it pulling me away from the boat. But then when I realized and looked and I saw this eel in a hole, and I was like, wow. And he'd come out and he looked and he'd go back in his hole. And he'd come out and he'd look and he'd go back in his hole. And I was like, oh no. Okay, if he comes after me, I'm in water. What do I do? Okay, I'll go back to the boat. Well, when I looked up to see where the boat was located, I was a pretty good distance off from the boat. And really, I didn't swim where I was at. It was actually the tides that were out on the waters that pulled me out further away from the boat. And that's when I realized, even when you're out in the middle of nowhere, you can get caught in a current and it'll pull you to a different location than what you think you're in until you pay attention. And then sometimes it can be too late. And they have to realize that you're missing or see you that far off and come back after you. I wasn't really that far away, but man, I tell you, it didn't take long, because I sure didn't swim and snorkel and do little dives to go down to be able to know. This little guy, bless his heart, I can't help it. He is freaking out because he's out without the others. But knowing guineas, they have not been tamed by man, I can get him to realize, there he goes, to go back in. He couldn't find the doors. Now they're happy and they're gonna sing. All right, we saved his day. Hey, pretty boy. But everything's for a purpose. And what the devil means for bad will be used for our good. God promises. And I know He is the only one that will keep His promise. No one else. How many times have you guys been disappointed? Well, I know the Father will keep His. Just as dependable as the moon rising and the sun rising up every day. without a shadow of a doubt. I have to pull this down. It's not really for the hawks right now. It's more or less to make it trouble if anything comes walking through here, to get them caught in it. But had a lot of rain. Started working in the garden again because the ground's nice and soft to pull out the weeds. And these little boogers have, I doubt I'll be able, well, it might. No. Well, it might be unattached on there. These things, if you don't get all of it, they will come right back. Yeah, I heard that one snap. But they grow runners, and it'll pop up somewhere else. And it's a pain to get rid of those. They have little seeds that are usually a bit deeper. And then, of course, you get the seeds that just come up randomly. But then you do get some fruit out of it. These little tomatoes came up in my strawberries. And it's wonderful to weed your garden. People think I'm crazy. They're like, she's out in that rain. I'm like, if it ain't thunder and lightning, and I can dress appropriate depending on the amount of rain. Well, shower is no big deal. But let me say, it's absolutely wonderful. One, it's cool. It's not sweat. And number two, the ground's ready to pull the weeds and get those tears out. This is a peanut plant that came up on its own. And you know it's making peanuts when you see all these little yellow flowers. And of course, the bees love it. Butterflies, anything that likes pollen. But you can get the weeds, the tares, and all of these little ones especially. That little tiny thing had a long one. And you'll still get surprises that come up. I'm not sure what that is, but even my peppers now are happy with this cooler weather. I have little pepper plants that have come on. And, you know, these zinnias are a pain because they grow so thick and luscious, and then the rains come and break them off. But let me say, it's great because it brings the pollinators to pollinate things. And these tares, they grow quick. But, you know, this day, everybody's worried about, you know, what the evils of the world are doing. But you know what? I'm not worried about it. Because I, number one, know who holds tomorrow. And number two, I know whatever they do will be turned around and used for my good. Because God promised. And it's time we stand in those promises to give others hope, because chaos plus chaos does not equal stability. Coming together as a community to help one another. When you see someone in need, help them. That's what God wants. All this world does is create division and confusion. That was the neighbor going by. But that's community. That's how we help one another. And this, believe it or not, is he's cute. We get them every now and then. He's one of the hummingbirds that comes. And I have a sugar water out for him that I make. Do not give these guys that red dye stuff. That stuff is so bad for them. Just do sugar water and let it cool and put it in there for them. But I'll tell you, if you plant plants for them, they'll come. And he'd rather have this than the sugar water any day. But it's time we come together as a community to help one another and lift each other up, no matter what walk of life they come from. That's God's will.